Imagine going to work every day knowing you could be murdered just for doing your job. That's the reality some journalists in eastern Ukraine are facing. They've long been in danger for writing about corrupt politicians and business interests, and now they face another threat: Russian-backed rebels trying to establish their own territory within Ukraine. Here's the story of one of those journalists, Oleksiy Matsuka. Thousands of people have been killed since Russian-backed rebels started their uprising in eastern Ukraine. For journalists reporting on the ground, dealing with ongoing Russian aggression has made their work even more dangerous.
As of today, I have 9 or 12, I've lost count, open cases involving death threats, attempted hits, and tails on me as a journalist.
Meet Oleksiy Matsuka, investigative reporter and editor of the regional news website Novosti Donbassa, News of Donbass. He's been reporting on government corruption and abuse of authority since 2003, a risky business in Ukraine and sometimes fatal. At least 10 journalists have died under mysterious circumstances following independence, including the grisly murder of Georgi Gongadze, who disappeared in September 2000 while investigating government corruption. When his headless body was discovered, an autopsy revealed he'd been beaten, strangled, doused in gasoline, and burned. In 2010, Oleksiy launched several projects to fight censorship and expose corruption, including reports critical of then-President Viktor Yanukovych. For Oleksiy, this was all part of a day's work, but it hit home, literally, when his apartment was targeted and torched.
So I drop everything and I go home, and there really is a fire, and there's this wreath. It's been placed just out of range of the fire near the exit. On it there's a message saying, "We remember and mourn," with my name on it. And I get a text message that says, "Another word about this person and you'll be delivered to the editorial office in pieces in a plastic bag."
The News of Donbass website had recently published a number of articles about the lavish lifestyle of local elite figures, including the mayor of Donetsk. In 2013, Oleksiy started a new project, Donetskaya Pravda, The Truth About Donetsk, dedicated to investigation of public officials, local government spending, public bidding on government contracts, and conflict of interest cases. This resulted in increased threats, harassment, and intimidation.
Every day, every month, we were faced with the problem of just staying alive. My usual day began with me getting up, looking at the surveillance cameras, and only then I'd leave the apartment, get in my car, and get to work as quickly as possible.
The office also became a target of an unsuccessful break-in attempt. Then came the crisis in November 2013. President Yanukovych announced his government was seeking closer cooperation with Moscow. That brought an abrupt halt to the country's pro-European path. Protesters took to the streets in cities around the country. The Maidan, the main square in Kiev, became a battleground as tens of thousands called on Yanukovych to resign. As Russia's destabilizing influence continued to fuel the crisis, journalists were now targeted in retaliation for their coverage of the conflict.
The militants came to nearly every one of our editorial offices, to nearly every media outlet working in Donetsk. Their tactics were simple. They'd come to an office with weapons, with machine guns, and they would say, "Either you write like we want you to, or get on a train, because the airport is shut down, and go wherever you like, or we'll take you all as prisoners."
Earlier this year, Oleksiy's car was set on fire, caught by this security camera. That was the final straw. He fled Donetsk and moved to Kiev. The situation continues to deteriorate as pro-Russian rebels seek more control, inspired by Vladimir Putin's annexation of the Crimean Peninsula. But Oleksiy remains undeterred. He finds support from his fellow journalists and strength from the knowledge the world is watching.
Единственным способом сберечь
The
независимость
only means of protecting the independence and safety of journalists in the modern world is first and foremost solidarity among journalists
журналистов,
within each country and around the world. The only way is to maintain transparency, honesty towards yourself, towards your colleagues, towards society.
которые нужно
We work for
понимать
society, for the people,
каждому, кто приходит
and we
в
won't lie.
журналистику. Никто не застрахован от того, что завтра
Oleksiy Matsuka is this year's winner of the CJFE 2014 International Press Freedom Award.